ESPN and the Professional Bowlers Association present the stepladder finals of the Oregon Open. We're in Portland, Oregon, where it's been blistering hot, but as you can see, there's still snow on Mount Hood. We're nice and cool inside Hollywood Bowl, but we're expecting an equally hot championship round finals. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Durbin. Working with me once again, PBA, ABC Hall of Famer, Earl Anthony. Earl, Mark Frank's the proprietor here. This is the 7th event that he's sponsored on the PBA Tour, and Norm Duke sure seems to like him.
You might make him a partner the way things are going. In the last 6 events that Norm has qualified for the championship round here at Mark Frank's Bowling Centers, he's won $37,000, but yet to win a title. He's got a chance today. But I asked him, I said, if you could take that $37,000 and trade it in for a championship today and the $18,000 first place, what would you do? He says, you can keep the trophy. I'll keep the $37,000 and take my chances. He's a professional.
Well, he's also very practical, it sounds like to me. But if he's going to win that trophy today, he's got to get by 4 very tough opponents. Number 3, Greg Kemp, an outstanding regional player. And in our runner-up position from Seattle, Washington, a veteran left-hander, Hugh Miller. And, of course, our outstanding young tournament leader from Andover, Kansas, Justin Hromek. And in that opening match, he takes on a former PBA Rookie of the Year, Steve Hoskins. And we're using lanes 33 and 34 here at the Hollywood Bowl, and Norm Duke will start the match, and he tidies up with a little piece of tape at the last second going in the thumb hole.
Well, like you mentioned right here, Mike, it's very warm outside and probably in the high 90s, so there is some humidity in the building, and I think the player's hands are very moist, and he's just trying to make sure he doesn't lose that first shot, maybe.
Gotten over the age of 30 now, 31. Well, starts with that light strike.
You'll see a variety of shots. We've got 5 players. Obviously, the left-hander, Hugh Miller, will be playing them different, but the other 4 are right-handers, and they'll be playing all over the lane. Each player, because of the way the PBA has conditioned the lanes this week and because we have a very flat, smooth surface, can play a variety of shots, Mike, and get there from a variety of angles. That one didn't quite make it.
So when you say that, is a guy that hooks the ball a lot like Steve Hoskins going to play more toward the center of the lane, or how will he approach it?
I would think he would be playing more toward the middle of the lane. That shot seemed to get away from him a little bit. Got it too wide. There is an out of bounds. If you get it too far out to the right, the ball will skid on you. And if you get into the middle of the lane, there tends to be more oil. You can have the ball hang up for you a little bit, crossing over on spares. Here's a look at the style of this young man. This guy's been on the tour 8 years. He's got 3 championships, and watch how deliberately he plays. Look at the cupped wrist. Keeps it cupped all the way through the swing, all the way to the top of the big high backswing. Remember, he's only 5'5". And look at the power in that release. Kind of rears back at the end in the shot, and that's what gives him a lot of that lift on the back end, the real hard hit on the back end. A little better shot there.
And that violent pin action from all that revs going down the lane. Both these guys 5'5", a little difference in the weight.
A little difference in the weight, yeah. I don't think Norm wants to wrestle him, but he'll bowl anybody. Norm Duke's not afraid of anybody. This guy here is one of the more talented players you'll ever meet. Remember, if you were watching last week, our expert analyst, Brian Voss, helped us out a little bit and talked about how Norm Duke is capable of changing his rotation, his ball speeds, the loft, playing anywhere on the lane. He can hook it, he can go straight. This shot right here, I think, is one of the strongest parts of his game. When he can stay behind the ball, go up the back of the ball, end over end, and keep it in the pocket area, he eliminates the lane taking him out of the game. If there's a trouble spot in the lane, he can go right through it or around it, either way.
So his decision this week is that the way the lanes are conditioned, he wants to go straighter.
He wants to go up the back of the ball, forward roll. That one got away from him. Hooked a little early on him, and Norm's not happy with that shot. That was just a mistake that he made, and you can see him shaking his head a little bit. His reaction, the 3-6-10 here, not an easy spare. Remember, I mentioned that spares are tough when you cross the center of the lane because the oil is heaviest in the middle. Ball skid or hook. You never know what it's going to do. You have to be very careful.
At the 3-6-10, converts it.
That caused a little faster heartbeat there, I think. That one started to hook on him.
Hoskins trying for a double that would give him an early lead in the match. Well, that big hook went over to the Brooklyn side. We talked to him earlier about that big hook and how he developed it. This is what he had to say.
Just bowling at home. The lanes tend to hook sometimes. You got to play a little deeper. I grew up bowling in a house that wasn't extremely easy, so you kind of had to do a little something to it to get it to hit. And that's pretty much how I developed a power game.
Well, so far that power game's a little wild on the right lane, but he did get the double.
That's kind of a natural reaction, don't you think? Get one ball that sails on you, and it's early in the match. That's another one that sailed. He got it way too wide. Until the lanes go through a transition. The players did practice on them for a while, but the lanes here will go through a transition. The oil will move a little bit, and there's resin-reactive bowling balls. They absorb the oil and pick it up. It'll change the pattern, how the ball reacts to the lane surface.
Now, Earl, from what I heard from the players all week long, early in the morning rounds, the lanes were tougher. Why was that?
Well, just what we're seeing right now. The oil is still too fresh in the head area. The ball wants to skid. If they give it a little room, it skids too far. If they go more direct, the ball wants to hook early.
Well, we've got an even match right now, Hoskins and Duke. How's this going to come out? We'll be back to find out right after this. The championship round finals of the PBA Oregon Open is being brought to you by Sports Cream, fast pain relief, and no odor. Duke lays 34. Perfect.
Well, most of the shots Duke makes seem to end up being pretty perfect, Mike. He's one of the best shot makers on the tour, as evidenced by the fact that he's currently the player of the year.
Won 5 times last year.
Won 5 times last year, and it's amazing that he's not having quite that kind of a year again, but sometimes it just kind of gets away from you. You have a great year, and it's hard to maintain your concentration for the following year.
Yeah, he's only made 30,000 so far this year, and he made 270 last year.
A little better shot there. Stay behind it longer, and looks like he got a little more ball speed, Mike. Kept it on line.
Hoskins, who's been basically lost on this right lane, did manage to get a double crossing over. We'll see what kind of adjustment he's going to make here.
I think he's a little confused on the right-hand lane, but I talked to him, and he said he's ready to win. He feels good, and he feels like his game's in shape, and he likes the shot. Hit him thin and watch him spin.
Well, the Tour de France is coming up tomorrow. It's stage 15, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, presented by Michelin. And Steve Hoskins is looking to ride in on that strike for a double here.
Well, they can't afford to let Duke get away. Once Duke gets it going, he's a great front runner. If you let him get away from him, you'll never see him again.
Ooh, an unusual 10-pin there on that light mixer hit.
Normally they'll carry those hits. That resin-reactive ball usually gets the pins really flying across the lane. That one didn't do the job for him. The head pin just stayed out over on the left side. Kind of trapped over there with the 4 and the 7.
Is it always the head pin that comes back across?
Well, not always. For you, it was the 5.
Oh,
I mean, you used to hit him so hard, Mike. You had him.
And there's Lisa Hoskins rooting her husband on.
I think he got her a little nervous on that 10-pin. The ball almost went to the left of it.
Well, he's been known to miss a spare now and then.
That's true. Norm Duke. Norm's always thinking. He comes up with different things to make his game stronger. Seems like every week.
Well, he hasn't missed on that lane.
We're going to take a little look at Norm's footwork. Now watch his left foot. Watch what he does to start his approach. You see him hitch the right knee. Now watch the left foot go back. What that does is gets Norm's shoulders out front, makes him rush a little bit to catch up with his body weight. He feels by getting the faster feet and getting his weight out front, he can actually get more strength or lift on the ball, more rotation. And when he can do that, he feels like he's a better player.
Trying for 4. Knocks that 10-pin out of there. Norm Duke distancing himself right now. He's leading by 30 pins. We're going to go to break right now. We'll be back for the completion of this match right after these messages. Outstanding trophy there for the champion of the PBA Oregon Open. City of Roses. Look at those roses there.
Steve Hoskins. He has to get it going now. He's running out of frames. Norm Duke with a 30-pin lead, and he's a great front runner, as I mentioned. So, oh, what a great move there, huh, Mike? Moved a little deeper, looks like, put a little more on the ball, and got it back.
A little less overreaction there.
Take another look at that shot. Steve, sitting on the bench during commercial, came up with a great idea. Moved deeper in the lane. You can see him. He's in there around the fourth arrow. Put more rotation on the ball. Gave it more room. Got it back.
Is he going to do the same on the left lane now?
I doubt it. He was hitting the left lane. The right lane was his problem. He should just play him differently. Play the lane the way they'll let you play. But he did move in, Mike. You're right. He moved in deeper. Didn't get it back, and that's the penalty you pay if it doesn't come back at that extreme angle.
The 0-2-10. Well, that angle plus the ball coming in so much behind the head pin there.
The extreme angle. It's late. It's behind the head pin, and here's another look at that shot. Watch what happens here to the head pin. He just gets a little piece of it. Watch the ball go down the lane. It turns over right here, but it's too far down the lane. The head pin comes off the wall, but not with enough momentum to get back. He didn't get any part of the 2-pin. 2 into the 10. Slide it across.
Almost. Excellent try. Norm Duke in a commanding position right now. .42 pins ahead as we head to the 8th frame. Duke on a lane that he has not missed yet.
He just never seems to let up once he gets out front. There's the first real mistake he's made. Got away with it. A little high in the head pin, only the 3-pin.
Norm kind of shaking his head. I think he's disappointed in himself here that he didn't...
Well, he's such a perfectionist, Mike, and when he makes a mistake, he's not very happy about it. You see him adjusting that cork grip he has in the thumb hole that absorbs moisture off your thumb and gives you a little better grip so you don't lose the ball. Careful. Oh, boy. Even I was nervous for that one.
She wasn't nervous. Karen says, I knew he had it all the time. That's his lovely wife.
She's been a wonderful influence for Norm. She's helped him steady himself a little more emotionally on the tour, and I think made him a better player.
Yeah, Norm, won a tournament back when he was 18. I think you were on that telecast.
You had to bring that up, didn't you?
Yeah,
right.
And sets up the 10th frame by striking in the 9th. Well, that basically wraps it up, doesn't it?
Well, I believe so. The worst he can do is something in the 220s. The best Steve can do is 215 if he were to strike out. But still, Steve, I'm sure, is going to work real hard because if nothing else, it's a matter of pride. You want to do the best you can. Switch bowling balls. Oh, boy. That one came back from no man's land, didn't it? Wow.
Oh, that's trouble when your opponent is striking like this and you don't know what line or what ball or what hand release to use. Of course, he seems like he uses the same hand release almost all the time.
Just gets a little more around it to get more back in sometimes. In other words, he rotates his wrist around the side a little more. Remember the tip you did a few weeks ago about rotating around the side of the ball?
That's all from observation, never from experience, Earl.
I knew that.
And right through the nose with a new ball, leaves the 3-6. Steve Hoskins is going to settle for 5th place.
Still not a bad week's pay, Mike.
What's he going to get? $4,000 for 5th.
A disappointing week for Steve, and I'm sure his wife Lisa and their daughter Lindsay, but he knows he can play with these guys. He's been there before. He's won 3 times, so he'll be back.
And as we go to Tucson next week, he's the defending champ down there, so he's looking forward to...
This is getting him ready for that, that's
Golden
for sure.
Pin Lanes and Pete Tountis, the hospitality down in Tucson.
Think Pete will be on the golf course when we get there?
Or? Oh, is he ever anyplace else?
No, Norm Duke is really asserting himself early here, and once he gets up ahead of steam and gets momentum going, it's hard to stop him. So Greg Kemp's going to have his hands full, huh?
Well, how would you like to be, even though you're an outstanding regional player, though, coming on, you're bowling on television one of the first times ever, and who you got to play?
The player of the year.
The player of the year, and he's just bowling 240 or 250, whatever. Well, he changed angles here.
Well, he's got this one won. He's looking for something. That's thinking. He's always thinking. Duke's always thinking. It looks like he changed bowling balls, too. Changed releases, got around the side a little bit.
Wait, is he just trying to impress us, or what?
I think and see Ernie Schlegel sitting right there. You can just see him by Duke's left elbow. I think he's trying to show Ernie that you can hook the ball and score here, too.
He just changed balls again. Ooh, that one hooks. Wow.
A little clinic here.
Is that how you carry the skinny Brooklyn? Is that it?
Maybe he's trying to give Greg Kemp a little inferiority complex here and get him a little nervous going into that next match. Another different angle. That one didn't make it.
That one didn't make it, so he's going to wind up with 252 as Duke wins the opening match, 252 to 195. We're going to be back with a tip about steps. Be sure you stay tuned and watch that. For years, instructors and experts in the sport of bowling taught that the four-step delivery was both the simplest and most efficient method of delivering the bowling ball. And for those people that four steps just didn't seem to work for, they said, well, try 5. There were a few others that took 3, but not too many. As we enter the 90s, and even before then, I think there's a wider range of approaches available to us today. As exemplified last week, we saw 2 guys on the telecast using 6 steps. Norm Duke, who's also on the telecast tonight, kind of shuffles his way into 6 steps. And Brian Goebel uses a very distinctive 6-step delivery. Now, the questions come to my mind are, well, how do they do it, and why did they do it? Let's look at the how first, and let's look at Brian Goebel because his approach is so distinctive. What Brian basically does is he holds the ball about shoulder height. Then he takes 2 very slow steps to start his approach. 1, 2. But you notice the ball didn't move at all, and he doesn't move it at all on the first 2 steps. From there, it's just like a 4-step delivery, and Brian pushes it out, lets it swing, and slides and lets it go very effectively. Now, why do they use 6 steps? Well, I think the reason why people change steps in their delivery, either 4 to 5 or 5 to 6, is because it gives a different feel as we get to the foul line and let go of that ball and the thumb comes out and the fingers lifted and we know we've thrown a good shot. It gives a different tempo to the approach, a different rhythm, a different momentum. It creates a better feel at the end. So my advice to you is if you're struggling with your 4-step delivery, you might want to try 5, as John Handigard did with very good results. If you're struggling with both 4 and 5, give 6 a try. Just remember to hold that ball the 2 counts before you push it away and see if that doesn't help. And if none of that works, well, remember, there was a guy years ago that used 7 steps, and it seemed to work very well for him. His name was Mark Roth. We'll see you again next Tuesday night, Tucson, Arizona, when, of course, we'll have another Average Builder. Our final score, match number 1, Norm Duke defeats Steve Hoskins 252 to 195. And in our next match, Dave Houston will join us as Duke tries to keep going up the ladder, taking on regional player Greg Kemp. Well, joining us, as we said, for the second game is this year's U.S. Open champion, Dave Houston. Dave, that's 2 U.S. Opens now.
I've been very fortunate, Mike. I'd rather be bowling right now, but I thought I'd join you guys today and have a little fun out here on the booth.
Well, we're looking forward to your expert commentary, and you know, we know that you're from this part of the country. I assume that you're familiar with Hollywood Bowl.
A little bit, yeah. I wish I was a little more familiar with it this week. I didn't perform real well, but I think Norm Duke's going to be the man to beat today.
He appears that he's pretty well wired in.
I believe so.
Oh, what a start. The old 7-10 in the pocket, Earl.
The old wall shot 7-10. It looked like the ball was kind of rolled out, David. What do you think?
Well, I think Greg is the type of player where he's all feel and touch, and he's a very soft with the ball. But boy, when he gets it going, he can throw a lot of strikes.
That soft speed kind of helped the carry there? Or?
It can. When he gets on a roll, it's incredible. He's basically dominated the Southwest region the last couple of years, at one time winning 4 regionals in a row. But Norm Duke up here on lane 34, he can do it all.
Let's see what shot Norm's going to be using. Remember, he experimented a little at the end of that last match. He's right back where he was. That one just a little light. 2-4-5.
You know, I know that respect and pride and these things are real important to Norm Duke. Has he earned the respect of his peers out here?
I don't think there's any question. You know, Norm has gotten to a level where a lot of us dream of. He can do it by hooking the ball and do it by throwing the ball extremely straight, as he covers the 2-4-5 there without a problem. He's definitely extremely talented young player, and he's going to be the man to beat on the tour. Him and Walter Ray, I think, in the next 3 or 4 years.
Well, he's not that much younger than you are, is he?
Well,
he's 31. What are you?
I'm 35. But,
well, that's not old. That looks pretty young to me, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Anything's young to you, Mike.
Well, that's true. There he is. Well, that reminds me of a shot there, you know, I'll tell you.
Look familiar, doesn't
it? Yes, it does.
Well, I think Norm has the ability, as Earl had, that he can literally place the ball anywhere he wants to on the lane, by either throwing it straight or hooking it, and I think that's a big advantage.
You know, you mentioned that, Dave, that Greg Kemp had won 4 regionals in a row in the same year. He won 5, actually, altogether that year, but I talked to him about that, the fact that he's such a great regional player, and a lot of people told him that, hey, you're just winning down here because you know the shot in this area and all that kind of stuff. And he says the most important thing for him today would be to win this tournament and get the respect for his abilities that would give him by winning on the national tour and beating the great players.
Well, missing 2 pins isn't going to get it done, though. I mean, that ball just turned left right in the middle of the lane there.
Sure did, but maybe he's just trying to fake Duke out. What do you think? Or make him overconfident? You think that's possible? Duke's such a tiger, nothing's going to bother him. He's just going to get up there and bowl. We're going to take a look at that spare that Greg Kemp missed here. And it looks to me like he just got a little lazy with it, a little soft. He expected there'd be a lot of oil in the middle of the lane. And remember, I talked about spares. Once it gets down the lane, it has a tendency to really move hard left. There's what happened.
Well, I think, yeah, exactly. Early didn't play for enough hook and went too straight, and the ball just bit and hooked right by it.
Look at here. That looks familiar.
Well, it's going to stand. The machine's got it now. Even if it falls at this point in time, they'll have to put it back up.
Well, years ago, Mike, when you were bowling, most of the time they had pin buoys, and that would have fallen down. The pin buoy would have let it fall down. But since we have the automatic pin spotters
exactly
now,
right, Earl.
and this Brunswick machine picks it up, puts the wiggle back on it, puts it right back on spot.
Of course, you were still playing baseball at that time, weren't you? Yes.
Bad break for Norm. A real good break for Greg Kemp. Puts him right back in the match here, even though he's had 2 opens already. Start the match, Dave. He's still in it.
I don't think there's any question. I think, you know, Greg came out with little butterflies. He's basically a part-time player. I think he wants to become a full-time player, and having to bowl the Bowler of the Year is no easy chore.
Player of the Year, and with all this talent, especially starting with a 250 game, you have to look at that.
Absolutely. Greg's probably thinking in the back of his mind, I'm going to have to shoot 240 or 50 to win the game, and that's awful tough to come out here knowing that it's what you have to do.
When you get in that situation, do you look at it just one frame at a time here, one shot at a time?
I think you have to, Mike. I think you just have to bowl the pins and hopefully get in the zone where you just are bowling, doing the best you can, bowling against the pins, throwing strike after strike. Not worry about your opponent.
Well, he's got another shot at that 2-pin. Well, I think he'll do a little better with it this time. We're going to take a look at Greg Kemp's style here, and Dave Husted, you can help me out a little bit. You can see he does sit very slowly to the power line. I hear Dave, and you can see he cups the wrist.
Right, he has hardly any arm swing early. It's kind of a muscled swing from the shoulder. That's one thing I'd like to see Greg maybe improve on a little bit, loosen up the arm swing, the leisure to be consistent in making good shots.
Well, you know, he missed this last time, and it doesn't look like he's going to. He made a big move around the lane. Well, way to the right, give it a chance to hook back into it rather than down the middle.
Still just barely got it there.
Oh, well, that's why they put a lot of paint on him. He got most of it.
Has to hurry, and does. And the 5 goes over, late, but goes over.
Well, he needs a couple of good breaks just to get him going. I think if he can get relaxed, I think Dave Husted made a very good point when he said that he was nervous, and, you know, he's bowling against the best player maybe in the world right now. Here's a look at that pin action, Dave, and look at that 5-pin dance and spin.
Just get over.
What is it, 9 degrees it has to tilt to fall? And
that's what they say.
Well, Duke getting a little animated there.
Well, he's a competitor, and he's showing you that spirit right now. He's not going to let this match get away if he can do anything about it.
Norm knew that he was on a strike there, and he could pick up an extra 10 pins throwing that double there. He wasted no time just pouncing on it.
Norm also seems like a master psychologist. I mean, if he can intimidate an opponent in a certain way, he's going to do it.
He's a great match game player. He loves to play match game. He likes to play you heads up, and he'll play you for his own money. He's not afraid of anybody.
That's exactly right. And the thing about match play is it doesn't matter if you each shoot 250 or each shoot 150. If it's 151 to 150, that's all. Obviously, that's all it takes. And Norm will play into that. If he has to play little mind games with you, bowling slow, bowling fast, whatever it takes, he'll do it.
That's part of the game. There's a psychology in the game, and the guys that are the smartest upstairs, not only talent-wise physically, but you have to use your head also. It's a good point, Dave.
At the 10-pin, he has no trouble. Duke's ahead by 19. Kemp's working on a strike. We're going to go away for some important messages. Stay tuned, please. Mike Durbin back here with Earl Anthony and Dave Houston. We're at the championship round finals of the PBA Oregon Open here at Hollywood Bowl, Portland, Oregon, on lanes 33 and 34, going into the 6th frame. Greg Kemp down by 19 pins.
Chance to get back in the match here with a couple of strikes, Dave. A little more ball speed there, huh?
I think so. I think he went a little harder and a little straighter. The ball held line, flush in the pocket.
Well, another golf major coming up, the British Open. Nick Price, the defending champion. That's going to be Thursday at both 9 a.m. and 6 a.m. Pacific time. Earl, you're going to enjoy that.
Well, I watch ESPN just about every chance I get. When they got the British Open, you can count on me watching it.
Uh-oh. Wow.
Well, David, in my opinion, that happens to a guy that's not used to throwing the ball hard. He can throw it right through the break point sometimes, and it looked like he got it a little too wide. What do you think?
It is not his game, Earl. That's exactly right. That is not his A game. He gets a little in front of it. Ball shoots to the right. You'll see right here, just right of the second arrow, goes out to about the third, actually second board, and this never makes it back.
He almost didn't keep it on the lane. Yeah, it kind of quivered there.
Looks like he's just really right now, when the way he went up and shot that washout, that spare there, like he was just trying to get out of Duke's way.
Just wasted no time. I was kind of surprised. It's still anybody's match.
You think he's embarrassed a little?
I don't think he's embarrassed. I think he's disappointed more than anything, because he came in here, as I mentioned, I talked to him. He felt very confident with his game right now. He feels he's rolling the ball well. I think the lane condition might have fooled him a little bit. I think he's not getting the back end he might have been getting earlier in the tournament. The lanes haven't gone through quite the transition they might have with more play. So he's probably not getting quite the ball reaction he wanted. A man like Duke, with all the experience he has, the ability to play anywhere on the lane, is a definite advantage.
I think you'll see Greg learns from this. I know you're Earl and Mike as well. We all go out, kind of look and see how the bowler's playing the lanes, and I don't think maybe Greg did that.
Norm's throwing the ball hard and straight and has a very successful shot.
Well, that was evident also when he bowled Steve Hoskins in the first match. Steve, a very fine player as far as hooking the ball a lot, and Greg Kemp is closer to that style by far than he is Norm Buch's style, and he wasn't successful. And so obviously that means that if Steve couldn't do it, Greg probably can't do it either.
I think you're right. And the results are as we're seeing now.
Duke, as you look at him, is just a picture of confidence. He just exudes it in every step that he takes.
Well, he said it. Excuse me, Dave. He said it when we talked earlier about the $37,000 he'd won in 6 prior events that Mark Frank had sponsored. He said, hey, I'm a professional bowler. I bowl for the money. And, he'll take his chances anytime.
Norm lives for the action. He wants to go out there, like you said earlier. You alluded to it earlier. He'll put his own money on the line and bowl somebody in the parking lot if they want to. He is very extremely confident of his abilities. He's wasting no time here, and he's just going to put the hammer down big time right here.
It's funny you say bowl anybody even in the parking lot. He probably averaged 220 out there too. You're right, Dave. He put the hammer down.
Notice the shot there. He just posed for a little bit, wasted no time. He knew that ball was going nowhere but the pocket. He's in the zone right now.
Did he know it was going to carry?
That we don't know, but I'll tell you one thing. He can make a single pin spare.
Duke just cruising along here, putting the finishing touches on another victory. Finishing off in style.
Well, it's good experience, as you mentioned, Dave, for Greg Kemp. He'll be back again, I'm sure, and he'll go back to that regional players, and he can still tell them, hey, I proved my abilities on the national tour. I beat a lot of guys. I beat some great players just to get to the TV show.
I totally agree. I don't think anybody can disrespect his talent and his abilities. He showed it here this week at the Oregon Open as Norm Duke throws another strike there on lane 33. Greg has nothing to be ashamed of.
Well,
I'd trade places with him right now.
A lot of guys have lost to Norm Duke, haven't they?
That's exactly right.
3 of us sitting right here.
Yeah, that's right. He was 18 back then when.
No,
did he whip you that day, or?
Go to commercial or something, will you, Mike?
Norm Duke finishing out with 6 in a row and 237. Certainly has the crowd on his side at this point in time.
And this is not that easy a lane condition, so that shows you how really the good shots that Norm Duke is making.
Well, Greg Kemp is just finishing out the string here. We're going to take a break right now. Norm Duke is going to be back. See if he can take on Hugh Miller. We'll be right back. This is Mike Durbin along with Earl Anthony. Back to the championship round finals of the PBA Oregon Open at Hollywood Bowl. Some of our other finishers: 6th place, last week's runner-up Mark Williams, and 7th is a leading candidate for Rookie of the Year, Billy Myers Jr.
And one of the hardest working players on the tour, Eric Forkel, and in 9th place, Joe Purple, who was 2nd here last year.
In 10th, a very intense young player, Jeff Hickenbottom, and Jess Stayrook was 11th. He's won twice this year.
12th place, Tim Christ, and in 13th, Dennis Jakes, who always seems to be in the match play, Mike.
14th, Bob Spalding, who was runner-up at the Tournament of Champions, and the winner of the Tournament of Champions, 15th, Mike Albee.
And everybody remembers the 300 player, Bob Benoit, but did you know he builds hot rods in his spare time?
No, I didn't. A very exciting young and emotional left-hander, John Mazza, was 18th.
And one of the nicest guys in the tour, maybe why he hasn't won yet, is Phil Ringener, finishing 20th.
22nd, Randy Peterson, former PBA national champion. And our alternate was Tom Baker. Match number 1, or this is match number 2. Duke is winning them all right now, 237 to a disappointing 158 for Greg Kemp. You know, David, I understand that, your dad used to watch you all the time, champ, watching you. Now you're watching your son bowl. Is that right? He finished, what, 1st or 2nd in the Pro-Am here?
Yeah, 2nd in the junior Pro-Am. Basically, the 8 to 11-year-old category, 2nd. He's doing real well. He loves bowling.
So how nervous were you?
I was a little nervous. I was trying to root him on the best I could, but try not to say a whole lot, but he did fine.
Okay, David, we want to thank you for joining us in this second game, and good luck to you next week.
Thank you very much.
Well, our next match, Norm Duke is on a roll. He's taking on Hugh Miller, the only left-hander in our field. We'll be back. If you're enjoying the bowling tonight, be sure and join us next week from Golden Pin Lanes in Tucson, Arizona for the Tucson Open at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And coming up right after our show tonight is Baseball Tonight with your host, Carl Ravitch.
Yeah, a little change in plans here. He's got Duke starting the match, and Duke's had everybody starting on the other side, right?
Well, he didn't have the choice in the second match, but yeah. Seems to have both lanes down, though.
Well, that one he was a little bit out of time. Really fast with his feet, and there's a result. Generally, when you get to the foul line quickly, as you know, and the shoulders are out in front, he was really fast that time. You throw the ball into the floor, and it wants to go left. Here's another look at it. Watch how this ball will get off his hand very early, and you see him hop at the foul line. It's a pretty good indication he was there too quickly.
Well, only a 10-pin to shoot, though, so you make those mistakes and get 9 and a spare. It's not so damaging.
That's right. Here's our first look at Hugh Miller. This guy here, I talked to him a little bit earlier, Mike, and he said, I'm going to go with the urethane bowling ball instead of the resin reactive because I can hit. If I make 10 good shots, I'll hit the pocket 10 times. He said, I might leave 10 7-pins and get fined for breaking something, but other than that, he says, I know the resin reactive might overreact for me, and even though I might hit, it might get away from me and get the big 4 or something like that. He says, I'd rather just hit the pocket every shot.
Mouse lane at the 7-pin. No trouble.
Here's a look at Hugh Miller's style. He's got one of the better, purer arm swings, you might say. He really lets the ball swing free from the shoulder, and he can develop a lot of ball speed if he ever needs it. You see him get down low at the foul line, that arm out for balance, and he stays there. He has good balance at the foul line and a good, strong follow-through. Hugh is a very accurate player. His strength is his accuracy. He keeps the ball on target almost every time. If he makes a mistake, he'll set the ball down early. It'll go high on the head pin. Very seldom will he miss the pocket, and when he does, it's usually a little bit higher.
Won 6 times, 38 years of age. Hard to believe that he was getting up around that 40 mark now.
Well, it's been 15 years since he won his first tournament, and he'd love to be the guy who can say, hey, I showed you how good I am over a period of time. I won 15 years ago, and I won again today.
That is an impressive accomplishment to do that 15
Not many
years
guys can do that.
Right.
Mark Roth just did it the other day. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Not the other day, but a few months ago.
During the winter tour, right? Duke trying to get himself back on track on lane 34.
Another little hop there. I think his footwork is getting a little faster than he wants it. I think he's actually getting to the foul line a little quicker than he wants to, and his balance isn't good, and he's just not getting... When you get there like that, you can't get through the shot and stay with it and keep it on line.
Is that a tendency when you take a lot of steps, like he shuffles into that 6-step approach?
Well, remember how he showed his footwork? He takes that... He bends his right knee, takes the left foot and puts it back, and he says he does that intentionally to get his shoulders out front. He wants his body weight in front, so he has to run to catch it. And if your timing isn't perfect, you're in trouble.
Playing with that thumb hole again, trying to get the feel just right. We all know that if that feel isn't there, you don't make good shots. At the 4-pin. Well, we can see we started with 127 guys here. It only took a 208 average to cash and 212 to make the match play. 220, though, to get on television. That's a little bit better.
That's a little beyond you and I, Mike, so we can watch. That's why we're doing up here talking. See?
Well, I enjoy this, don't you?
I do. I enjoy watching the greatest players in the world perform, and this has definitely, over the last couple of years, been one of them right here. 13 years on the tour. He looks like he's still about 15 years old, isn't he? Whoops. Somebody yelled in his backswing there, and that's pretty hard to do what he did. It takes a lot of strength to stop the ball like that when you're just about ready to release it.
Tremendous concentration.
Oh,
I mean, there's all kinds of thoughts that fly through your mind at the last say, well, just go ahead and throw it, it'll strike, or no, we better stop. Or yeah, the guy said, come on, Norm. And Norm turned around, keeping his sense of humor, says, I'm trying, guy.
You got to wait till he lets go before you can help him.
Now they're yelling Duke, Duke. Creeps a little high, too, for a 4-pin, but
much better shot.
Got off his hand clean. You can see the tension on that face right there as Karen is hoping that he's going to finish higher than 3rd this year.
I tell you what, I told you Norm Duke, if he gets out in front of you, he's awful hard to catch. He's a great front runner. Hugh Miller's the same way. If he gets out in front, he's very difficult to catch also. Take a look at this, Mike. What happened, Mike? How did he stop this? Now, it doesn't matter if you go over the foul line. As long as you don't let go of the ball, it's not a foul. So he could have tiptoed all he wanted, but it wouldn't have made any difference.
Hugh was hoping that would get back, and if it had gotten back, look out for Hugh Miller. If he can send it aboard left and have it get back, as his wife, Donna, looks on.
The look on her face is, what are you doing out there, Hugh? Come on. Let's get it going here. Tough spare.
Shoes,
Tough
yeah.
spare. 3-5 here.
He's a good spare shooter, though.
Oh! Come on.
Oh!
Well, Norm looked back at his wife. He would look back at his wife and took a deep breath and said, whew, I'm glad that one's over with.
Well, Duke had 18 strikes in the first 2 games, and now we've threw 3 frames here. Still looking for our first strike. 1 pin the difference.
Well, something bothered Hugh Miller, so we're having a little problem getting the ball going here.
Well, in baseball, that's a balk, but they don't do that in bowling, do they?
What both players have shown, you're right, but what both players have shown here is that they're experienced. They know that they can stop, start over, get reset, and make a good shot like that. First strike of the match.
Is that kind of like backing off a putt, Earl, or something of that nature?
Same idea, and bowling and golf, there's a lot of things that are similar. They're individual games, but both these players have one thing in common. They do trust their arm swings. You have to do that. You can't be thinking about your swing when you're on the way to the foul line. You have to trust your swing. You've developed it over all the years. You've practiced hard. Let it happen.
4-pin again, 3rd one in a row.
4th time he's been high in the head pin. Remember when he left the 10-pin in the first frame when it was through the nose? He's had every ball high. He's going to be making a move here pretty quick. He keeps adjusting the finger holes and the thumb hole in his ball, trying to make the ball come off his hand a little differently.
So the adjustment he going to make with speed or moving speed?
Knowing Norm, he'll make it with speed. He can develop tremendous ball speed for a little guy.
Well, be sure and join us Wednesday night for our Wednesday night baseball. The opening game, we've got the Phillies taking on the surprising Rockies from Coors Field in Denver. Then in our nightcap, it's the first place Cincinnati Reds taking on the Padres from Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego. 7:30 Eastern Time.
Well, the good thing is I don't have anybody from Cleveland watching or on the air right this time, Mike.
Is that good?
Don't you get
Norm Duke, what got the 4-7 there? Was that the 5?
Hugh Miller with a chance to get a double. We're going to take another look at that wall shot here. Watch what happens to the head pin. It goes to the wall, comes right over top, and actually it looked like the 5-pin.
No, it was a 2-pin.
It was a 2-pin.
It was a 2-pin. They got the 4-7 there.
Hugh Miller staying with his game plan. He says, I know I could keep this ball in play. This is a urethane ball. It's not a resin-reactive urethane.
Well, explain the difference to us.
The difference is the porous surface. The surface of the ball on a urethane bowling ball, the pores are much larger. On a reactive resin, they're much smaller, and there are a lot more of them, so it absorbs the oil faster, and actually it will change how it reacts much quicker. This is an easier ball to control, so you can keep it in pocket.
Oh, the old solid 7. So what are the disadvantages of using just the regular urethane ball?
The regular urethane doesn't hit quite as hard, so you don't get as much carry power. If you can get the reactive resin ball to the pocket, it generally will strike.
Okay.
The urethane ball, you can leave the corners like this. Hugh expected this. He told me before we started, he said, I'm going to leave some 7-pins, but I'm not going to shoot a poor game because I'm going to be able to hit the pocket with this ball.
So he's going in with a patient mindset right away.
He thinks 220 can win.
Miller's got the lead by 9 pins. We've got the last half of this match to go. We'll be back with that right after this. Now it's time for a championship frame. In our opening match, Norm Duke needed a strike in the 9th frame here to keep his string going.
Well, and if anybody can do it, it's Norm Duke. You see him going fouling nice and controlled there, a little different than in this last game, and that's how you get it done, time after time.
Norm Duke winning that first match over Steve Hoskins by a score of 252-195, and he continued on. In the second match, he was leading
by a bunch.
Yeah, just basically didn't need a whole lot, but he strikes here the first ball in the 10th.
And the lanes are making a little bit of a change for him, I think, during this period of time. And as it gone on, you see his reaction there. It's all over. And there's the final score.
237-158. Disappointing for Greg Kemp, but Norm Duke says, I like it.
He does, but now he had a great match here. Coming into the 10th frame, Norm Duke against Hugh Miller. He needs 5 pins, as you see on the graphic, to win the match on his first ball, 10th frame.
Straight at it. Needs 5. He gets 5, Earl.
He gets 5, and Hugh Miller had split the 10th frame, as you know, if you were watching, and that gave Norm Duke that opportunity, and he got what he needed.
And he gives the old safe sign, playing umpire right here. Final score, 202-194, which is going to set up Norm Duke in that championship match. He's going to take on a young tiger, Justin Hromek. We'll be back with that match right after this. Mike Durr back here with Earl Anthony at the Hollywood Bowl for the championship match of the PBA Oregon Open, and Norm Duke's on a drive for 55. He's won 37,000 coming into this. 18 more makes 55, Earl.
That's an amazing record over the last 6 years at Mark Frank's tournaments. This is the 7th try for him, and he's finally got his match play record up to even. He's 6-6 after starting 3-6 over the last 6 years.
Well, he just wants to get above 500 now as he starts with a solid 10. And, you know, Justin Hromek, paying attention here, is going to make him finish on that right lane where he struggled the last game.
Well, that's leaders. The leader has that option. Whoever is higher in the standings as they start the match can pick the lane they want to start on. And he's decided he wants Norm Duke, as you mentioned, to finish on lane 34. Norm Duke, I don't think that's going to be a problem. He's going to make the adjustments. He'll be fine.
And our host proprietor here, Mark Frank, he was also the host proprietor last week, as we've often mentioned tonight. He sponsored 7 events on the PBA Tour. Just a young guy.
Well, he's not. Yes, he is very young, Mike, but he's also one of the best promoters in the game. No question about it. He really does a job. He gets somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,700 pro-ams in this tournament alone.
They had over 3,500 for the 2 of them. Woo!
Something seems to be bothering Justin Hromek, too. I don't know what it would be, but Hugh Miller had problems last time, and from what we understand, there's kind of a buzzing sound, but that's kind of a normal thing, like from the pin setters or something, Mike?
Or the ball return or something like that. Well,
this looks like a pro shop here. The guys are out there working on their bowling balls.
You need all these tools and tape out there. They couldn't survive without these things.
If I'd be out there, I'd be so nervous I'd probably cut my finger off of that knife that Duke's got in his hand there. I wonder what he's got on his finger right there.
What that is a grip.
Too much grip. Got a break. Broke out the 310, only the 10 pin.
He puts that grip on the tip of his index finger I guess, you know, how some guys get calluses, you know, they really put that ball in the palm or on the index finger like that. And he's had it there for quite a while. It helps him, I guess, keep
Takes it off when he's not bowling.
Yeah, hopefully so. Yeah. At the 10 pin. We were away. I mean, we were talking about that buzzing sound that was down there, and Earl playfully mentioned that it was just nothing with my pacemaker working there. And Duke. You know, I talked to Duke earlier about his 7 TV appearances hit and said was the law of averages on his side.
Well, I certainly feel like I'm due. I've played tremendous here the last 5 years, but on television day, I just never seem to get scores that merit victories. Today, I'm going to try to get 240s, 250s, 260s. I think we have a chance.
Well, basically, he's been 230s and 250s. The last game only 2-0.
No, he's not getting tired. He's just getting realigned here, folks.
And off with the 10-pin lead.
You know, this Justin Hromek is just a wonderfully talented athlete. He works out. He's probably in as good a physical condition as any player on the tour. And he feels his strongest suit is actually chasing the oil as the lanes break down and move in. And that's not his best shot right there by far, leaving the washout. But he feels this shot, talking to him about the lane condition here. And I asked him why he bowled so well here. He said that it was because he had practiced going up the back of the ball like Norm Duke does. And you see this ball got out near the channel where they're out of bounds and just never had a chance to get back.
Oh, right around the washout. Wow.
Let's take a look at this young man's style here. He's a 5-stepper, and you watch him start with the left foot here, gets it sliding out, but you can see he's in real good position here. He's got the good free arm swing, the straight arm, cupped wrist a little bit at the top, ball just above the shoulder height, and a good long slide and push away into the release point. Shoulders just a little bit back from the knee, which tends to make you cut the ball short a little bit. Might be what happened there in that shot.
Comes right back with a strike, though. But the damage is done. Duke up here now ready to capitalize that, already leading by 25 pins.
Well, Justin Hromek said he thinks that the lane condition here suits Norm Duke's strength. His strength being he can adjust speed, control, and rotation of the bowling ball as good as anybody on the tour. And that's what he's been doing through these 4 games, these first 3 games that he's won. And, of course, this one now he's realigned himself, got him back right in the pocket area again.
Wow. Duke pouring him in. No matter what happens tonight, whether he wins this match or not, he will have already joined 15 other guys as $1 million winners. He's going over the $1 million mark. You only need to finish 17th this week to accomplish that task.
Did you reach the $1 million mark?
No, I was just about $500,000 short, something like that. Maybe.
Yeah, but you still got that $500,000. These guys have all spent theirs. That's the difference.
One more. Oh, he looks unbeatable, Earl.
He does. The last time we said that, we said it about Mike Albee, and he got beat, so we got to be kind of careful here. Justin Hromek still has a lot of frames left, and he's not a quitter. He's still working hard. He's on a strike, chance to get back in the match with a couple of strikes here.
Down 45 pins. It's almost a must strike right here.
Concentration, good level head, going to the foul line. Much better shot here.
Oh, solid 9. Well, sometimes it's just not meant to be.
And sometimes the other player makes it so it's not meant to be. And Norm Duke has been like that. Here's another look at that shot. This ball actually just hits too hard. No deflection at all. Rolls over the 8-pin spot. You've heard it time and time again. The perfect strike is when the ball hits the 1, 3, 5, 9 if you're right-handed. That ball never had a chance to hit the 9 pin.
Reactive resin, you talk about how hard they hit.
They do hit hard. Once the reactive resin ball grips the lane, it just really creates a lot of friction. And the ball heats up. It actually gets hot. And when it gets hot, it picks up oil. It actually absorbs the oil off the lane surface.
6th frame. Hromek just looking to get anything started. Does. Boy, it could have been a turkey real easy.
Well, you remember what happened in the 10th frame when Norm Duke got a little careless, got 5 count. It could happen again. You never know. And here's another look at that last shot. You can see the tremendous rotation that he gets on the bowling ball. Once the ball turns over, or what they call flips, and then goes into that end-over-end roll, coming in at that extreme angle, it's hard for anything to stand up.
Norm Duke working on 4 in a row, leading by 45. Very little time.
Oh, lots of ball speed here. Really flung that one down there. He's off balance at the foul line. Kind of lost his, like he lost his timing again, Mike.
Well, you think he was thinking in his mind, just keep the speed up?
Very possibly. He's just trying to make sure he doesn't make that major mistake again that he did in the 10th frame. Got the 5 count. That could happen. Like I say, in this match, not over yet. Justin Hromek can still shoot through 30, so he's not out of the wood. 235, actually. Remember how he finished the match play against Hugh Miller last night. We were here watching. 289 Justin Hromek shot to take the lead in the tournament, so he's capable of stringing the strikes, and Norm Duke knows that as well as anybody. He's not going to back off here. He's got to be aggressive right on through the end of the match. If he starts making mistakes or gets careless or tries to... You can't play safe. If he tries to play safe, Hromek can get back in there in a hurry.
Well, the fact that he stopped striking at least gives Justin a little hope. A little bounce there again, but the solid 10. Duke just girds his mind, make that spare, continue on. Karen looking very confident right there too.
You see Duke talking to himself. He does that a lot, and what he's doing, he's trying to make himself concentrate, work hard, be aggressive. He doesn't want himself to relax too much. If he relaxes, that's when you start making mistakes.
Has it.
Well, now he's in a must situation, Mike. You said must strike, but this is definitely a must strike here.
7th frame, down by 43. Can cut it to 33.
Oh, he tugged it.
Going high. Auto racing. It's the Thursday Thunder promo. U.S. Sprint, or U.S. USAC Sprint cars, I'm sorry. They're Thursday, July 20th, 9 o'clock.
For the 4-7, lots of ball speed there. All you got to do is hit him. That's what he did. And Justin Hromek starting to think this might just be all over, folks. I led this tournament almost from the day one. Actually, he led it from the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th rounds of a 6th round event. And it doesn't look like it's going to be the leader after the 7th round, which is the telecast.
Well, he could still get 215 if he would take it out. That would make Duke mark out.
Mm-hmm. He's really struggled on the right-hand lane. Lane 34 seems to be the one that's been the toughest for everybody.
Has to hurry, and does. Gets him out of there.
But that one he seems to be able to get it back from that extreme angle. He can't do that on 34.
Interesting, though, that the only time he didn't strike on that lane was when he hit the right lane. He hit the right lane in the first frame and then wasn't able to double up.
This is the one that Duke's had most of his problems on also.
He keeps it in the pocket, though, when he has his problems.
Yeah, he doesn't miss it very often. Those 3-pound, 8-ounce Brunswick pins, as we said, he hits them thin and just tries to make them spin a little bit. That extreme angle he's coming in, the head pin comes off the wall, gets a little help from the 4 and the 7. You get another look at it there. Just enough of the 5 pin to get it dancing, and it falls over.
9th frame. The lockout shot. Wow.
Looks like he's improved his record a little bit. What'd you say?
He wanted to get over 500. He's going to do it here, I'll tell you.
What about that 55?
The drive for 55 for Norm Duke. He might think that we're talking about his age or something, you know.
Well, I don't hardly think so. It's been a while for Norm Duke. He's had a tough year. If you want to look at, based on last year, he was such a tremendous player. Player of the year, what'd you say, he won 4 or 5 times last year?
5 times last year, $273,000 he made.
All right, he's won $30,000 this year. He's going to win 18 here. That'll put him right at 50,000 with maybe 10 tournaments to play the rest of the year, something like that.
But he's a threat to win any of those.
He could win all of them. Or all of them. You're right.
Oh, misses that. Justin bowled a decent game. Just a solid 9 back in the 5th frame. big shot there that could have gotten him a little closer.
Well, that's the one I think really took the heart out of him at that point. If he'd have carried that one, he probably would have had the adrenaline going and been really pumped, but it just kind of deflated him like you'd let the air out of a balloon. He just lost it. Norm Duke never lets up, though. He keeps the pressure on, and that's what makes him such a great match game player, and that's why he's a winner. The PBA competition, most of the games are bowled in match play, and those 24 games of match play, he's as good as you can get, Norm Duke.
Pastor Hromek going to finish another solid 9. Finishes up with 193. Norm Duke can take it out for 258. He talked about those big games. Basically has done it. Leaves the 3-6-9-10 there.
He said he was ready, and he said he was due. Well, he forecasted this. He said he's going to do it, and he did it.
You know, Dave DeEntremont, who's the defending champion here, came all the way up the ladder last year. So
Dave Husted the year before.
So it seems to be a principle here, or a pattern that happens here at Hollywood Bowl.
And they're all great players. That might help a little bit.
Norm Duke finishing out with double pinnacle in a 230 game. He wins that championship game 230 to 193. Takes a bow.